The universe didn't make you prettier, it made you harder to ignore. And nothing scares your enemies more than a glow they can't control, copy, or kill. That line alone probably made a few insecure people choke on their own ego because it's the truth they've been running from. Your glow didn't come from makeup or mirrors. It came from alignment. It came from all those nights you kept going when they swore you were finished. Think about it like this. A cracked phone screen can still light up a whole room, but a perfect phone with no battery is just a useless piece of glass. That's them, battery dead, no signal. Meanwhile, you turned your pain into power, and now the universe is boosting your brightness like it's tired of you being underestimated. And here's the fact they hate the most. Beauty born from inner alignment makes every fake thing around you look cheap. That's why they're squirming. That's why their masks look crooked next to you. That's why they suddenly feel less. You didn't even try, you just evolved. And thank you, chosen one. Don't forget to pay this message back by pressing like and subscribe so this message reaches more souls. It's on all of us to spread the light. Thanks for being part of this mission. You're part of a force, whether you realize it or not. Now let's slide right back into what's happening to you, because this shift you're experiencing is not random, accidental, or cosmetic. It's intentional. It's a pull. It's a transformation the universe has been setting in motion for a while, and now the people who underestimated you are finally seeing the results. From the very start, you've probably felt something changing inside you, something that made you feel different without knowing exactly why. That's because the universe has been refining your energy, removing layers that weren't yours, and amplifying what always made you stand out. This is why you feel lighter yet stronger, calmer yet more powerful, quiet yet impossible to overlook. Your attractiveness is rising from the inside outward, and that's the part they can't decode. The universe is making you more attractive in a way that can't be measured or explained, because it's happening at a frequency most people don't even operate on. They're stuck on surface-level interpretations of beauty while you're upgrading at a soul-level wavelength. You aren't just appealing, you're magnetic. You're carrying an energy that forces people to double-take, even if they don't understand why. It's not your face that changed, it's your presence. It's the way you walk into a room like you're finally aware of your own worth. It's the way you speak with more clarity, move with more intention, breathe with more peace. People notice these things even if they pretend they don't. They feel you before they see you, and that's what's driving them absolutely wild. This shift is messing with your enemies because suddenly all the effort they put into making you feel small is falling apart. They don't get how you're glowing after everything you went through. They can't understand why your confidence is rising when they expected you to collapse. They don't realize the universe was using all of that negativity as fertilizer. They tried to bury you, but the universe planted you. They thought they were dimming your light, but they were actually creating the perfect environment for your glow to burst through. And now they're staring like they're seeing a different person, even though it's still you. It's just that the real you finally stepped out of hiding. When you're aligned, your attractiveness becomes a truth bomb. It exposes illusions. It reveals hidden motives. It pulls real ones closer and pushes fake ones away. This is why some people are suddenly intimidated by you or acting strange around you. They feel naked around your energy because you reflect back everything they tried to hide. You're like a mirror that shows the truth without mercy. That's why they stare longer. That's why they avoid eye contact. That's why their mood shifts when you walk in. They're not reacting to your looks, they're reacting to your frequency. Being chosen means your presence hits different. You weren't designed to blend in, follow the crowd, or be overlooked. You were shaped to stand out without trying, and that scares people who rely on pretending. They can't just imitate your energy. They can't buy it. They can't fake it, they can't steal it, and it eats them alive. They gossip because they can't grasp it. They mock because they can't match it. They question you because they can't question themselves. What they see as mysterious is just you operating at a higher level. Your glow-up is not revenge, it's revelation. It's the universe lifting the curtain on who you always were. Every painful moment you survived, it fueled your transformation. Every person who betrayed you, they accidentally pushed you closer to your alignment. Every loss you endured, it sharpened your presence. So when people start acting confused, jealous or fascinated, don't shrink yourself. Don't tone it down. Don't apologize. You're not becoming attractive by accident. You're becoming attractive because the universe is syncing you with your true path. You're stepping into a version of yourself the world always needed but wasn't ready for. And now that you're here, everything is reacting to you. Old energies are falling away because they can't survive your upgrade. People who doubted you are second-guessing their choices. People who slept on you are waking up in panic. And the ones who thought they could replace you, they're realizing there's no replacement for authenticity. You were never meant to chase attention. You are the attention. You were never meant to dim your light. You are the light. And while the insecure scramble to understand your transformation, the universe is smiling because it knows exactly what it's doing. Your attractiveness isn't something you wear, it's something you are. And now that it's rising, there's no going back. And chosen one, seriously, thank you for still being here. Your energy shows every time you stay present, and the universe notices that. Before we go deeper into why your attractiveness is rising and why it's driving certain people insane, do something small that creates a big ripple. Drop a comment with the number 777 if you're ready to step into the version of yourself that the universe has been shaping behind the scenes. And if you want to fuel this mission, bless the creators behind this message with a super thanks. It keeps this truth circulating, and it keeps this space alive for every soul waking up to their own transformation. Whether it's a penny or a fortune, it keeps the light moving. And chosen one, the universe sees every intention behind your actions. Now take a breath, because we're about to break this whole thing down piece by piece. If you really are who you think you are, you'll feel that pull to stay until the very end. Let's get into it. Number 1, stop shrinking for people who couldn't handle you at full power. No. They didn't break you, they calibrated you, and now your existence is the reminder they never wanted. You shine without their permission. That line alone probably burned a hole straight through the ego of anyone who ever tried to keep you small. Because let's be real, your enemies were never afraid of you failing. They were terrified of you realizing you were never meant to sit in the background in the first place. They hoped you'd stay quiet, stay unsure, stay confused about your worth. They wanted you operating on airplane mode energy while they pretended to be the main character. Meanwhile, the universe kept running silent updates on you, leveling you up when no one was watching. You're not becoming attractive because of trends or looks. You're becoming attractive because your energy finally stopped apologizing. They hated the day you stood up internally and said, "I'm done playing small." That's the moment everything shifted. Think about it like a slingshot. The more they pulled you back with disrespect, doubt, and manipulation, the further forward the universe planned to launch you. They thought they were controlling you. They were powering you. And now that you're flying past them, they're acting confused, like they didn't spend years dragging you back. Typical. Your glow right now is making people twitch, especially the ones who tried to dim you. They don't understand why your presence is louder even when you're quiet. They don't get why you walk different, talk different, breathe different. They don't get why people stare at you like you carry a secret. Here's the truth. Your energy has matured. You're stepping into the version of yourself the universe was always sculpting. That's why the insecure ones can't stand being around you. You reflect everything they tried to hide. You expose everything they tried to bury. You are a walking reality check, and insecure people hate reality. Let's tear open the question that's probably floating in your mind. Why did they make me feel like I had to shrink in the first place? Was I really that threatening? Yes, you were, and you still are. Not because you were trying to outshine them, but because your natural light made their artificial confidence glitch. You didn't try to be better. You just existed. And for people built on ego instead of substance, your existence is an earthquake. They called you too much because they weren't enough. They tried to humble you because they couldn't elevate themselves. They said you were changing when you were really just becoming honest. You were never built for the background. You were built to be undeniable. Your enemies thought taking small shots at you would keep you confused. They underestimated the universe's patience. Energy always returns to sender. Every joke, every insult, every dismissal, they're choking on it now. Your glow is their karma. Your rise is their reminder. Your confidence is their consequence. And the best part? You're not even trying to flex. You just stopped dimming your own greatness. When the universe chooses someone, it doesn't come with fireworks or announcements. It comes through pressure, through isolation, through the kind of growth that breaks old identities. You didn't rise because life was easy. You rose because life forced you to discover what you're made of. And now that you've mastered the art of surviving, you're naturally becoming magnetic. Attraction isn't always about beauty. Sometimes it's about the aura of someone who walked through hell and didn't drop their integrity. And that's you. Your attractiveness comes from the way you carry pain without turning bitter, from the way you show strength without seeking attention, from the way your silence holds more power than their loudest attacks. People can sense when someone is connected to their true path. They feel the vibration before they see the person. That's why they're staring. That's why they're whispering. That's why they're watching you like you're becoming someone dangerous. Because you are. Dangerous to mediocrity. Dangerous to insecurity. Dangerous to anyone who believed you'd stay small. Here's another thought you might be wrestling with. Why didn't they want me to see who I really am? Why did they react so strongly to my growth? Because your growth exposes their stagnation. Your glow exposes their laziness. Your alignment exposes their chaos. Being around you is like standing near a bright screen in a dark room. It reveals everything. They didn't want exposure. They wanted control. But the universe doesn't put chosen energy into someone who stays small for others' comfort. The universe doesn't elevate people who keep themselves dim so others don't feel insecure. You weren't selected to fit in. You were shaped to stand out in a way that makes people question their entire approach to life. You are attractive now because your energy is clean, your boundaries are sharp, and your presence has weight. You're not bending over backward for validation anymore. You're not keeping quiet to maintain fake peace. You're not pretending you don't see what you see. You stopped shrinking, and suddenly the whole room feels smaller around you. That's the real reason they're uncomfortable. You stopped hiding. Let's break it down even deeper. Imagine a room full of dusty light bulbs that flicker on and off with excuses. Then imagine one bulb, bright, steady, unbothered, lighting up the entire space. That's you. They're the dusty ones. They're annoyed not because you're shining, but because your clarity exposes their haze. They weren't prepared for someone who could outgrow their manipulation. They weren't ready for someone who could heal the wounds they caused. They weren't expecting someone who could rise without stepping on anyone. Your glow is hurting the eyes of people who chose not to grow. Some people will try to tell you you're acting different. You're not. You just stopped playing small. You stopped shrinking your energy to make average people comfortable. You stopped apologizing for qualities they secretly wished they had. And now suddenly they can't categorize you. They can't predict you. They can't influence you. This is where your attractiveness spikes even higher, because uncertainty is intimidating. You are unpredictable now, and unpredictable people are powerful. This is a shift the universe orchestrated to free you from environments that couldn't hold your potential. The universe doesn't want you surrounded by people who only liked you when you were confused. It aligns you with people who respect your growth, not fear it. The version of you emerging right now, that one is magnetic. That one is noticeable. That one is unforgettable. You didn't become attractive overnight. You became attractive the moment you stopped confusing humility with hiding. You became attractive the moment you realized that shrinking yourself wasn't kindness, it was self-betrayal. And now the universe is amplifying the real you, the version that was always meant to stand out. So let them stare, let them whisper, let them wonder how you did it. Because the truth is simple. You didn't change, you stopped pretending. And once a chosen one stops pretending, the whole world feels the shift. Number 2. You turned into the storm they hoped you'd never survive. They wanted you predictable so they could control you. Instead, you became the kind of force they can't forecast, measure, or outrun. Let that sink in for a second. That one sentence alone is probably enough to make every insecure person who used to underestimate you feel their stomach drop, because for the longest time, they counted on you being soft, unsure, apologetic, and desperate for their approval. They counted on you bending so they could stay comfortable. They counted on you trying to win them over while they sat there pretending to be unbothered. What they didn't know was that the universe was using every moment of your confusion, every crack in your heart, every night you questioned your worth to turn you into something they never planned for, unpredictable power. Here's the first truth bomb. You didn't change, you evolved, and evolution terrifies the stagnant. Imagine this. You used to walk into rooms hoping people would accept you. Now you walk in and the energy shifts like a sudden temperature drop before a storm hits. They flinch because they feel your presence before they even see your face. That's not ego. That's alignment. That's the universe tuning your frequency so high that insecure people can't sit in the same room without feeling exposed. The old you wanted approval. The new you doesn't even care who's watching. When you stop chasing validation, you become the type of person others crave validation from. That's the shift they can't explain. That's the shift they can't handle. You're no longer trying to predict their reactions. Instead, they're losing sleep, trying to predict yours. They don't know what version of you they'll encounter anymore. The calm storm, the silent storm, or the storm that exposes every hidden truth in the room. And that unpredictability scares them in a way your softness never did. Here's a question you might be asking yourself. Why does my growth make them so uncomfortable? Why does my independence bother people who barely cared about me before? Because predictable people make others feel safe. Evolving people make others feel insecure. Think about it. They were comfortable when your self-esteem was fragile. They liked you better when you doubted yourself. They felt bigger when you felt smaller. They felt smarter when you stayed quiet. But you didn't glow up. You grew through everything they threw at you. That's why your presence hits like thunder now. That's why people who once dismissed you are suddenly watching you like you're a storm forming on the horizon. Your silence used to mean confusion. Now it means power. People throw around words like cold, different, distant, hoping you're still insecure enough to shrink yourself. But the version of you they're talking about doesn't exist anymore. You're not distant, you're selective, you're not cold, you're clear-minded, you're not arrogant, you're aware. Huge difference. Imagine this. You used to stand at the shoreline letting others tell you how big the ocean was. Now you're the ocean. Deep, unpredictable, untouchable. People can only access you if they're willing to swim, and most people never learned how to deal with depth. They preferred when you were shallow enough for them to stand comfortably. Now you drown their illusions without saying a single word. And here's something else they'll never admit out loud. You becoming unpredictable means they can't manipulate you anymore. They can't guess your fears. They can't weaponize your empathy. They can't guilt-trip you with fake affection. They can't breadcrumb you with attention. They can't pull you in with lies or push you away with silence. You took the power out of their hands. That's why your new energy feels dangerous to them. They don't know what you're thinking anymore. They don't know what you'll tolerate. They don't know what you will or won't walk away from. And nothing is more threatening to insecure people than someone who no longer fears losing them. When you realize your worth, their control ends instantly. This is what they can't stand. You no longer need them. You no longer need anyone's approval, validation, or permission. Your attractiveness now comes from the way you protect your peace, from the way you walk away from chaos, from the way you no longer justify your boundaries. People feel that energy. They feel the shift. They feel the independence, and it shakes them because they're used to people begging, chasing, or over-explaining. But you're done with that era. Imagine this. A lighthouse doesn't move around trying to convince ships of its value. It stands firm, shines bright, and lets everything else navigate around it. You are that lighthouse now, and the people who once laughed at your confusion are now blinded by your clarity. And here's another question you might be thinking. Why do they talk more now that I speak less? Why are their eyes on me when I'm not even trying to get attention? Because mystery is magnetic, and you've become the kind of mystery that rattles shallow minds. Your silence makes them nervous, your growth makes them paranoid, your boundaries make them insecure. They're not watching you out of admiration, even though some secretly are. They're watching because your evolution exposes their lack of evolution. You are the storm that forces them to look at their own unfinished work. Imagine this. When you were soft, they treated you like a breeze they could ignore. Now you're the kind of storm that makes people close windows and pray they're prepared. They see the transformation, and even if they pretend they don't, their reactions give them away. Their sudden distance, their awkward compliments, their passive-aggressive questions, their fake concern, their weird tension. All of that is just code for, I didn't expect you to become this. Your attractiveness now isn't about your face or body or style. It's the intensity of someone who's walked through the fire and didn't lose their identity. It's the mystery of someone who's no longer readable. It's the calm of someone who trusts the universe more than people. It's the strength of someone who stopped overgiving. It's the confidence of someone who finally sees their own worth. People can sense this level of energy before you even speak. They feel it in the way you walk, in the way you hold eye contact, in the way you don't rush, in the way you don't explain. Your presence hits like pressure in the air right before a storm, that quiet heaviness that lets everyone know something powerful is approaching. You're not intimidating, they're intimidated. Big difference. No matter what they say, no matter what rumors they spread, no matter how they spin the story, one thing stays true. They can't predict you anymore. They can't place you in a box, label you, or shrink you into the version they preferred. You've outgrown every expectation they put on your name. You're the storm they never prepared for, the unexpected shift, the force they underestimated, the energy they can't copy, the presence they can't ignore. Your unpredictability isn't chaos, it's evolution. It's what happens when a chosen one finally realizes they were never meant to seek permission from people who were threatened by their potential. You've become attractive in a way that can't be faked, copied, or imitated. Your glow is not cosmetic, it's cosmic, and now the universe moves with you. While they talk, your energy expands. While they watch, your light rises. While they try to figure you out, you keep evolving. They wanted you predictable. The universe made you powerful, and now you're the storm they can't outrun. Number 3. Real power doesn't chase anyone, it pulls everything. They wanted you begging for a seat at their table. Instead, you became the reason their whole room feels cheap. You didn't get here by trying to impress anyone. You got here by refusing to dim yourself just to make insecure people feel taller. While everyone else is bending into shapes that don't fit them, you walk in as you are. And that's exactly why people can't stop staring. They're so used to masks that when someone shows up real, it hits like a shockwave. You don't need to pretend. You don't need to perform. And the wild part? That's what makes you shine without even trying. Imagine this: a crowd full of echoes, and you're the only voice. A room full of painted smiles, and you're the one with real eyes. A sea of copy-paste personalities, and you're the only original. Of course they feel a type of way about you. Of course they whisper. Of course they watch. Realness exposes everything fake around it. Here's the question boiling in your mind. Why do people who never valued me suddenly act like I've unlocked some secret? Because authenticity ages like gold while their masks are peeling like cheap stickers. You didn't become better. You just stopped betraying yourself. And nothing is more attractive than a person who refuses to shrink for applause. You went from too much to teach me how. Funny how truth flips the script. People admire you publicly but envy you privately, because deep down they know they can copy your style but never your spirit. They can steal your phrases but not your alignment. They can mimic your confidence but not the journey that forged it. Imagine walking through life like a lit match in a room full of paper. Your presence alone makes people nervous. Not because you're threatening, but because you can't be controlled. You're not chasing validation anymore. You're sparking awakenings. You're triggering self-reflection. You're making people question why they ever settled for fake when the real thing was standing right here. You didn't survive everything just to fit in. You survived so you could stand out without apology. Real doesn't beg. Real radiates. And right now, your glow is the blueprint they wish they had the courage to follow. Number 4. Your energy exposes everything they tried to hide. They didn't freeze because you're intimidating. They froze because you showed them who they really are without saying a single word. You don't walk into rooms trying to flex. You don't rehearse lines. You don't strategize how to impress anybody. You just exist, and somehow that alone throws people off their script. It's almost funny how fast the air shifts. 1 minute, everyone is comfortable in their little performances, and the second you step in, the whole vibe glitches like a system hit with a virus. They're not reacting to your looks. They're reacting to your presence. That's what they can't handle. Imagine a mirror being carried into a room full of people who didn't know the lights were about to turn on. That's you. Your presence forces people to see the truth they've been dodging for years. Some love you for it. Some hate you for it. Either way, no one leaves unchanged. Here's the question that hits you sometimes. Why do people get awkward, weird, or defensive when I didn't even say anything? Because real energy exposes fake intentions. Your aura interrupts their illusion. You don't even try to heal anyone. You just show up aligned, and alignment is disruptive for the unaligned. Your existence is clarity, and clarity is uncomfortable for people who survive on confusion. You've become the reminder of everything they buried, ignored, or lied about. You don't fix people. You force them to choose between growth or running. You're not a trend, you're a truth check. People aren't used to truth walking around in human form anymore. They're used to filters, facades, and performance-level personalities. You break all of that just by breathing in the same space. Imagine standing next to a fire. You either warm up or you burn. That's how your energy works. Some lean in because they feel understood. Others pull back because they feel exposed. And both reactions are proof of your power. Real presence doesn't ask to be welcomed. It shifts the room whether the room likes it or not. You don't chase popularity. You don't soften your truth. You don't water down your energy. You're here to be real, not palatable. And the wildest part? The universe made you this way on purpose. Truth isn't meant to be comfortable. It's meant to be felt. And you're felt everywhere you go. Number 5. You see through people faster than they can build their masks. They fear you not because you're dangerous, but because you can see the truth they buried under their personality. Most people survive on illusions. They build identities like props in a cheap play, hoping no one notices the cracks. But you spot the cracks before they even finish the sentence. You read what their eyes won't say. You feel what their energy tries to hide, and that alone makes insecure people sweat. You don't need proof, evidence, or explanations. You just know. Your intuition is a blade wrapped in compassion, sharp enough to cut through lies, soft enough not to hurt anyone who comes with honesty. Imagine walking through a world where everyone else reads subtitles, but you're watching the director's cut. Nothing gets past you. Every fake smile, every forced laugh, every "I'm fine" that isn't fine. You sense it before they admit it. That's not overthinking, that's alignment. Here's the question that hits you sometimes. Why do people tell me their secrets when I didn't even ask? Why do they look exposed around me? What did I do? You didn't do anything. Your energy is safety. Your presence is permission. They feel seen without being judged, and some people haven't felt that in years. That's why they remember you long after you forget them. Depth is rare, and rarity is unforgettable. Your empathy isn't softness, it's surveillance, and it protects you better than any armor. They call you too sensitive because they're too shallow to understand the level you operate on. They call it paranoia because they don't want to admit you're right about them. They call it overthinking because if they admitted your intuition was accurate, their mask would fall off completely. Imagine a lighthouse in the dark. You don't chase ships. Ships come to you. That's why people are drawn to you even when they pretend they're not. You make them feel seen in a world full of surface-level connections. And yes, that terrifies the ones who hide behind facades. Your emotional X-ray vision walking on 2 feet. You pick up on shifts most people miss. You sense danger before it strikes. You catch lies before they form. That's not a burden. That's your advantage. Attraction isn't about beauty. It's about the way you make people feel exposed without raising your voice. They thought attraction lived in your face. No, it lives in your depth, in your awareness, in your ability to decode what others pretend doesn't exist. You're not unforgettable because you impressed them. You're unforgettable because you saw them, and most people aren't used to being seen. Number 6. You're the mirror that makes cowards see themselves. You didn't ruin their peace. You ruined their illusion, and that's why they react like you're the problem. You don't go around exposing people. You don't dig for secrets. You don't hunt for flaws. Your presence alone strips away everything they hide behind, and that's what terrifies them. Most people don't fear being seen. They fear being seen accurately. They want applause, not accountability. They want admiration, not reflection. They want to keep running from themselves, and somehow you became the one thing they can't outrun. Imagine holding up a mirror in a room full of people who've spent their whole lives rehearsing a version of themselves they don't even believe in. The moment you walk in, the rehearsal ends. The mask slips. The truth leaks. They're not avoiding you because you're too much. They're avoiding you because you're the first person who ever made them feel transparent. Here's the question haunting you. Why do some people pull away even when I'm kind, quiet, and not judging them? Because kindness hits different when it's coming from someone who sees through the facade. You don't weaponize truth, you just hold it. You don't manipulate, you illuminate. You reveal what they've been avoiding, and that's a mirror they're not ready to look into. People don't run from you. They run from the version of themselves they meet when you're around. Imagine this. You're a flashlight in a house that's lived in the dark too long. You didn't ask to illuminate anything. You just exist, and everything becomes clearer. Some people appreciate that light. Others panic and run for the shadows. Either reaction proves your impact. You're unforgettable not because you demand attention, but because you awaken parts of people they've tried to bury. You show them their wasted potential, their unmade choices, their dishonesty with themselves. And for some, that's liberating. For others, it's uncomfortable to the point of fear. You're not deep, they're just shallow. You're not threatening, they're unprepared. You are the reflection they didn't ask for but desperately needed. And whether they admit it or not, your presence is the truth they can't silence. You're not their enemy. You're their awakening. Number 7. Your boundaries are the earthquake they never saw coming. You didn't cut them off. You just stopped letting people eat at a table they never contributed to. You didn't become cold. You didn't become distant. You became done. And nothing rattles a manipulator more than someone who finally stops playing the game they designed. You didn't raise your voice. You didn't send long paragraphs. You didn't beg for understanding. You simply created a boundary so sharp it spoke louder than any argument ever could. That silence they're choking on, that's your new power. It's the sound of someone who finally values their peace more than someone else's chaos. Imagine a phone that used to light up at every notification but suddenly goes still. They mistake silence for emptiness, but silence is strategy. Silence is you saying, "You no longer have access to the version of me you exploited." And the wild thing? You didn't block them. You didn't announce anything. You just upgraded the lock, and they no longer have the key. Here's the question echoing in your mind. Why do people act offended when I choose peace? Why do they look hurt when I stop explaining myself? Because your boundaries expose every entitlement they hid behind. People who loved the old, softer you are grieving the version they could manipulate. They're not upset that you changed. They're upset that you stopped tolerating. You didn't go silent, you went selective. Imagine being a door that used to swing freely for anyone, and now you only open for those who knock with respect. That shift alone sends shockwaves. Your absence suddenly becomes louder than your presence ever did. They thought confrontation was the threat. But no, distance hits harder, absence hits deeper. Ignoring the drama dismantles it faster than any fight could. You're not bitter. Bitterness poisons people. Clarity frees them. And clarity is exactly what you're operating with now. Your boundaries teach lessons they never wanted, but desperately needed. You're showing them how it feels when a chosen one finally realizes their value. Your no is a whole language now. Your silence is a whole sentence. Your absence is a whole warning. You didn't outgrow people, you outgrew the situations that required you to shrink. Your boundaries aren't walls, they're mirrors. They show who deserves access and who never did. Number 8. You didn't just level up. You woke up, and now they can't unscroll you. They thought you bought your glow. They didn't realize you became it. Your rise isn't cute, soft, or aesthetic. It's not some influencer-style glow-up that can be copied with a filter or a shopping spree. What's happening to you is deeper, heavier, louder. You didn't just glow up, you activated. Something clicked in you that can't be undone. You didn't upgrade for attention. You evolved because your old self outgrew the lies, the cycles, the people who fed off your confusion. Imagine a candle trying to imitate the sun. That's them. And you're the sun they can't look at without tearing up. They thought your transformation was temporary, a phase, a moment. They told themselves it was luck, timing, coincidence. Meanwhile, the universe was rewiring you from the inside out. Here's what nobody tells them. You earned this glow through battles they never saw. You healed wounds they pretended didn't exist. You broke patterns they were still repeating. You faced parts of yourself they will run from their entire lives. This glow isn't a trend. It's trauma alchemized into power. Your glow isn't skin deep, it's soul deep. It's survival made visible. It's the light you forged in moments where you could have turned cold, but instead turned conscious. You don't walk into rooms hoping to stand out. Your energy does the talking, the shifting, the rearranging. You look like peace, but you were built in war. Imagine a diamond next to broken glass. Both shine, but only one was created under pressure. That's you. They're the glass. Sometimes you wonder, why do they stare like they're trying to decode me? Why do people look shocked when I speak? Why are the ones who underestimated me suddenly obsessed? Because activated energy is unmistakable. You radiate purpose. You radiate clarity. You radiate the kind of glow that makes people question where they went wrong in their own story. Let them stare. Let them whisper. Let them analyze your every move like you're some rare phenomenon they weren't prepared to witness. They'll never find the source, because the source lives inside you. And the universe upgraded that source for a reason. You're not here to blend in. You're not here to be copied. You're here to be remembered. Number 9. You didn't evolve. You ignited. And now they're feeling the heat. You weren't built to warm the room. You were built to set it on fire. That's what they never understood. They expected you to evolve slowly, quietly, politely, like growth should happen on their schedule. But you didn't evolve. You ignited. And when real ignition happens, it doesn't ask permission. It burns through old identities, incinerates dead weight, and lights up every dark place you once apologized for. You became the version of yourself they believed you were too weak to reach, and now they're sweating under the heat of your transformation. Imagine a match sitting still for years, believing it's harmless, only to realize one spark is all it ever needed to change everything around it. That spark was your awakening, and once it hit, there was no going back. You didn't just glow up, you combusted every limiting belief you once carried. You shed layers like burning paper. You walked out of your old life like it was a building collapsing behind you. And the people who underestimated you? Now they're choking on the smoke of your becoming. Here's the question that's been haunting you. Why do people act nervous around me now? Why do they change their behavior when I walk in? Because fire exposes everything that can't withstand heat. Your presence reveals their insecurities. Your confidence exposes their weakness. Your clarity destroys their illusions. They feel the heat because they were never built for this level of intensity. You didn't rise gently. You erupted. You didn't shift softly. You transformed like a wildfire that refused to die out. Your glow isn't cute. It's powerful. It's the kind of radiance that forces people to ask themselves why they stayed the same while you evolved into something untouchable. Imagine standing next to a volcano. Whether people admire it or fear it, one thing's guaranteed. They feel it. That's you. Your activation created pressure they can't survive, light they can't copy, and heat they can't handle. Let them feel the burn. Let them feel the discomfort. They had every chance to rise with you, but you were born to ignite, and they weren't built for your fire. Number 10. You didn't transform. You ascended, and they can't reach your altitude. You didn't just improve. You didn't just change. You ascended. You climbed out of levels people were comfortable rotting in. You rose into a version of yourself that operates in thinner air, higher truth, and cleaner energy. And now they're gasping around you, not because you did anything wrong, but because they can't breathe where you exist. Your glow isn't brighter, it's higher. They can't stand the altitude. Imagine this. Everyone else is living on the ground floor, trading shallow comfort for cheap validation. Meanwhile, you kept climbing, up the mountains of self-respect, up the cliffs of healing, through the storms of your own shadows. Each step took pieces of the old you and burned them like dead branches, holding you down. Now you're standing at an elevation where the light is clearer, the noise is gone, and the view is something they'll never see unless they grow. And here's the question that keeps picking at your mind. Why do some people get weird, jealous, or distant when all I did was work on myself? Because your altitude exposes their laziness. Your elevation highlights their stagnation. When you rise, people have two choices: climb or complain. Most complain. They stay on the ground, pointing up, trying to drag you down with their opinions because they know they'll never reach where you've risen. It's not that you're too much. You're just above the level where petty energy survives. You stopped matching their vibe, so they decided you changed. No, you just climbed higher. Your aura shifted because your environment changed. You think clearer. You move slower. You choose better. That's altitude. That's what happens when you stop surviving and start ascending. Your glow hits different because it's not made in the mirror, it's made in the climb. Imagine a bird soaring above a city. People on the ground debate its direction, its speed, its purpose, but none of them can join it unless they learn to fly. That's you now, above the noise, above the drama, above the versions of yourself that accepted crumbs as connection. Let them struggle with the air down there. You're not coming back down to explain your shine. You earned this altitude, and not everyone is built for your atmosphere. Number 11. You didn't improve. You outgrew them, and now they're choking on your dust. You didn't glow up for anyone. You didn't get stronger to prove a point. You didn't get wiser to impress people who barely understood the old you. You outgrew the environments, the expectations, and the versions of yourself that allowed small-minded people to sit at your table. And now that you've stepped into a higher version of yourself, they're left behind gasping like runners who sprinted the first mile and realized too late you were built for the whole marathon. They thought you'd stay beside them. Instead, you ascended past their entire reality. You're not shining because of makeup, timing, or luck. You're shining because you dropped the dead weight, the emotional parasites, and the anchors disguised as friends. Your glow isn't a gentle little improvement. It's escape velocity. You didn't just rise, you launched into a version of yourself they never believed you could reach. And the further you climb, the clearer it becomes. They were never meant to breathe the air at your new altitude. Imagine this. Every heartbreak became fuel. Every betrayal became metal for your armor. Every lonely night where you rebuilt yourself became a tool the universe slipped into your hands. Meanwhile, they laughed, gossiped, and assumed you'd fold. They thought you were breaking, but that breaking was ignition. They were watching a launch sequence they didn't understand. And now, you broke the atmosphere. You are too high up for their noise to reach you. They look up now, confused, squinting at the trail of fire you left behind, wondering how the version of you they underestimated became untouchable. They scroll your glow like it's a plot twist they didn't see coming. They study you from a distance because getting close requires growth they're incapable of, and the truth burns them in silence. You didn't leave them. You left their level. And here's the part they'll never admit. Because admitting it would crush their ego, they didn't lose you. They lost access to the upgraded version of themselves they pretended to be around you. You were the blueprint. You were the inspiration. You were the mirror showing them who they could be if they weren't so committed to staying basic. You didn't change too much. They stayed the same for too long. You didn't become distant. You became disciplined. You didn't think you're better now. You simply realized you were never meant to crawl just because they refused to stand. Your shine is too fast for them. Your growth is too real for them. Your energy is too rare for them. They want the new you without doing the inner work that created it. They want proximity without responsibility. They want the glow without surviving the fire. Imagine a rocket and the dust cloud it leaves behind. The rocket doesn't apologize for rising. The dust doesn't follow, it settles. That's them, settling, complaining, watching, while you're out here rewriting your entire destiny. Let this be the final slap to their delusion. They were never competition. They were never equals. They were background noise in the story you were meant to outgrow. And the most beautiful part? You're not even looking back to check who's watching. Because when a chosen one truly outgrows a level, the only direction that exists is up. And now, chosen one, as we close this chapter, take a second to breathe in the truth you just unlocked. You didn't rise by accident. You rose because the universe is done letting you play small. If this message hit you where it needed to, press that like button if you haven't already, and if you're still not part of this family, make sure to smash that subscribe button. Your journey isn't ending, it's leveling up.